So we've looked at the languages with the most sounds, languages with the least sounds, and languages have quite a few sounds to choose from. We can look at the famous one chart of the International Phonetic Alphabet, in which we can see all the sounds of the world's languages together in one page. And this is the consonant table, and there are a lot of sounds here. Now, there is no language that has all of them quite like this, there are some that most languages have, and there are some that are highly rare and unique. And we can see everything from very common stuff like p, b, t, d, k, g, to some more exotic like ha and ha, which I'm not pronouncing very well, and all sorts of stuff going on there. And that's just the consonants. So my question today is, what are the sounds that are the most common, the ones that are most popular across all languages? And which ones are the ones that are rare and you're only going to see once in a while and in some kind of exceptional case? So for that, let's take a look back at Foible again. So excellent collection of the sound inventories or phoneme inventories of about 2,000 languages. Over 3,000 documents capturing 2,000 languages. And they actually identified 3,000 different sound types. Now, that is a lot. That is even more than what you directly see on the IPA chart, because in order to make the 3,000, it's also including some of these modifiers down here. So you can take all those sounds that are up at the top, and then you could add some of these little diacritics to modify them, and that's where you can get really a large variation. But let's just start with the basics here. So we go to the segments page, and now we're going to have the table sorted by segments. Let's start with just consonants. We'll do the consonants and vowels separately as two of the major classes of sound. So looking only at the consonants, and we now sort by this representation column. So this is what percent of the 3,000 documented inventories here, representing 2,000 languages, what percent or number have that particular sound? Now, it's a bit awkward. The way it's presented here, it presents it as the official definition of the letter. This is the official definition of M is Latin small letter m. Well, yeah, that's what it is. It doesn't say anything about the sound. So usually in phonetics, you would want to give a phonetic description of the sound, which would be something like a voiced bilabial nasal or something. That would be for the M. But here, they're simply using the standard Unicode description of the letter. So not particularly helpful, but maybe it can help to sort things out for some of the unusual ones. So we can see there's a few things that are a bit off here, like that this is based on 3,000 when there's only 2,000 languages. So any of the languages that have more than one documented inventory, because sometimes they're taking multiple ones that disagree, that would be counted twice or more than twice. And also some of these might have some very small modifications that would get some kind of a little marker, one of those little diacritics to modify them. It could be a very small modification, and then it would not be counted the same here. But with that in mind, we can still see some very common patterns. And the first thing we see at the very top of the list is this basic letter M, and that's 96%. So that really is an impressively high representation of the simple consonant M. And yeah, there is something really basic about the M, isn't there? I mean, you can see it in so many languages around the world. You see words that mean something like mother, often have an M sound, even in languages that are completely unrelated and unconnected in any known way. It just seems to be really popular to have this mem, 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 mem. It's like this very basic kind of baby sound. Maybe it's a very easy sound relatively for the baby to pick up that that is just an ideal letter that's like it's hard to pass up. It's most languages would simply not pass that up. It's like, okay, the baby's saying it and there it is. It's so it's a very easy letter. And so that stands out by itself as being by far the most present and popular consonant of all. And then we see, next one we see K. So this is a that kind of K sound made with the back of the tongue, which pretty much every language has, most languages have. This J sound, this of course represents not the J sound like an English letter J, but the Y sound, more like the English letter Y, because the phonetic alphabet was developed in Europe with wanted to include some languages that have the J represent a Y sound, like German and Dutch, and among others. And so they and plus they wanted to save Y to be another vowel, because you always need more vowel letters. There's just not enough letters for vowels. So they made J represent the Y sound. So this Y, again, that kind of Y sound, you can hear it in most languages. Similarly, P, P, the plosive version of an M, you can see that that's also very common. These labial sounds, sounds made with the lips, very popular. They call it linguistics. It's named after, or even language, it's named after the tongue. And you look at most of these sounds in the chart here are made by the tongue. But these in the front two columns, left two columns, are made with the lips only. These are labial sounds, and a lot of these are quite popular. You can see with the M, now you have the P, the W, also made with the lips, a W sound. So, and then you have N, the other nasal, the basic nasal sound to go together with M, and T, the plosive made with the front of the tongue. So these are all very basic sounds. We can get to L. This is a bit surprising. Like L is a sound made with the sides of the tongue. It's called a lateral, meaning sides, and it's made with the side of the tongue here, lateral approximant, L, where your tongue touches behind your teeth, similar to a D, in fact, just like a D, except you curl the sides of your tongue down, or possibly one side, one or both sides of the tongue are curled down, allowing air to flow around the tongue. And so it's kind of a unique sound. It's a bit, but I guess there's something very comfortable and easy about it that has made it popular in languages throughout the world. You're looking at 2/3 of all languages around the world. And then we get to the letter S. Now actually, I'm surprised it's not even more than this. Letter S. Well, you can see this whole row here full of fricatives, these sounds that made with a friction or a turbulence or a hissing sound. These are the fricatives, and there's a lot of them. But by far the most popular one is the simple one, S, made with the front of the tongue. And I suppose probably the reason why it's only 2/3 only is because there's lots of variations of these. So it's possible some languages would prefer to have another one of these options, like a sh, maybe even like a th, although this is more rare, or h at the back of the tongue. So those might be alternatives, but really S is still the most popular. Then you have B. I'm surprised B is not even higher. B, another similar to M, the plosive version of an M, very popular simple letter. You can see it as another good baby letter. Eng here represents the This is like it's similar to an N, but made with the back of the tongue. Also more popular than we might imagine from English. So in English, of course, we see it in the word English itself. English, we can see this sound, but it only appears at the end of syllables in English. Like we can say sing or bring or English, but we can't put it at the beginning. But there's many languages where this sound can occur at the beginning of a syllable. You can say like nga and ngu. Yeah, that took some practice to get used to, because we're used to only seeing it at the end. But this is actually a very popular sound, and it's really pretty similar to an N. N, nga. So another popular choice for your basic nasal sound. And here's your g. You can see interestingly that the ng, which is kind of like the nasal version of a G, you can see like here you have like B and M, they line up, and you have D and N. Well, here you have G and ng, and so that out of that pair, it's actually interesting to see that in each of those pairs, the nasal is more common. So these nose sounds are actually really common. You have M is more common than P or B, and the N is more common than a T or a D, and the eng is more common than a G. Then we have the H sound, which is the sort of a rough breathing sound, and it can vary into how rough it is, but just a little bit of a breathy sound here made in the throat, and very popular sound. It's almost like it's like the barely there consonant. It's like the whispered consonant, and that's another popular one. And those are all the sounds that are accounted for in more than half the world's languages. Going down, we are now dealing with less than half. Although remember that this is only counting them in precisely this form. There may be other very close versions of these letters that wouldn't be counted here, but if you put them together, they might show these sounds being more popular. You have D, R is down here, F, the nya sound, which is sort of like an N a bit further back, ch, the glottal stop, like an O, the sh, which is kind of like an S, z, j, v, ra. This is like the Spanish R here. And here we have a modified form. This is T with this a little tooth marker here. This represents a dental T. So you see this could be counted as possibly a type of T. I mean, it is. It's like, but it's instead of the tongue touching behind the front teeth, as in ta, regular T, in this one the tongue actually touches the teeth, like ta. And it often would sound the same. Like in English, if you were to pronounce a T this way, it would just be interpreted as a T, maybe with a bit of a unique flavor to it, but still the same letter. Here we have ts, k, p, h, n. Here's the dental version of the N. But you can see already we've gone down to, now we're below 20%. So everything below here is really getting into more specialized territory. So there's really a big drop off once we go down, and quickly we're below 10%. And let's go all the way to the end just to see the other end. And we get some examples that are found in only 5 or 6 languages, which even rounds down to 0. You see some unusual ones like with the clicks. A lot of these, because clicks are a whole specialized area that only a special subset of languages have. So you see a lot of these sort of sounds that involve clicks, also modified versions, sounds that are modified in some way. Like here you see an M, the most popular sound, but this is modified with the little glottal stop symbol. This is like an M with a sort of a glottal stop at the same time. It's like you close your throat while saying the M, like, which I'm probably not doing very well, but I can just tell that it has something to do with closing the vocal cords while saying the M. Almost like you're swallowing while saying the M. And you see a lot of other sounds, like here the L also has this modifier of that as well. D with an H, this is an aspirated D, like dha. Actually, you see this in words like Buddha and Dharma. Like this is popular in South Asian languages of the Indian subcontinent, and Yeah, I'm surprised to see that it's only 7 languages are attested to have it. So it's really kind of a unique thing. And yet there's an example of something that we see in English when we have these words that are brought in from Sanskrit, or related languages, which have this, like Buddha. Well, that comes in there. So that's at the very bottom. All right, so that's a quick look at some of the most common letters in English. And now what I'd like to, some of the most common letters around the world, common speech sounds. But now I see that I had English on the brain, because that's what I want to do next. Is I want to take a look at the English sounds and see, out of all the sounds in English, how, like which ones are the common ones and which ones are the weird ones. Okay, so here we have English. You can see it's listed. Well, it has 9 different inventories given. You can see it's part of the Indo-European language family. It's given its coordinates on a single spot, which is located in England as its home spot. And you can see some other versions, some other languages too. These are Pidgins and Creoles, languages that are based on English combined with other local languages in some of these other places. Okay, so here we can see, we have different inventories based on different varieties of English. Well, we don't see any Canadian. That's what I look for. Let's just go for a good old British English here. And so we'll look at consonants, as we're looking at. And now we can sort by representation. Well, here you can see M. Again, we have that too. The Y, W, N, Ng, L, S, B. You can see different varieties of the B that could appear in different places, but basically a B. So these are all pretty common. And going down to the rare ones, yeah, so here we go. If you're used to speaking English normally, maybe none of the sounds sound weird, right? Because we're just used to that being, we're used to whatever language we speak sounds normal to us, of course. So all of these sounds probably sound normal to an English speaker. But if you go down to the bottom of this list, you can see that there are some sounds in English that are really quite unusual, and from a cross-linguistic or external perspective, they would sound really weird. And I think it's fair to say that they could be considered very weird sounds. So we see at the bottom, we have this aspirated T, t, which we just think of as a letter T. But what actually comes out, we would say like tu, like a word like tu or T. Well, in most languages, it would sound more like tu or ti. They would say it without that little H, little breath sound in between. We just automatically, in a word like tu or ti, we say it with that kind of H, that kind of breathy pause there between the T and the vowel. T, tu. Don't even notice it most of the time, or ever. But it's a bit uncommon to actually have that, rather than just your basic common tu or ti. And the same with the k and the p, that are part of that set. Je is a bit of an unusual sound too. That kind of je. We only have that in the middle of words, like in words like vision, measure. Right, so there we have some unusual sounds. But going down even further, now we get to these distinctive English sounds that are particularly strange, and that's where we have these dental sounds. This is the and th. Now you can see these here. They're similar to s and z, the very common letters, but instead of being made behind the front teeth, they're actually made on the front teeth or even between the front teeth, th and the. So these are the sounds that are typically written with a th. And even the most common word in English by far is the word the, and that itself contains this sound. But only 5% of languages have that sound. And th, Well, 4%, even less. This the version, which we see in a word like think, really unusual. And finally, the strangest of all is this is the letter R. The English letter R is actually written with an upside down R, because what's written with a regular R in the International Phonetic Alphabet is the trill. It's like r. But this r sound is really quite unusual. And I try to imagine myself as somebody outside the language and hearing it, like a word like there, completely normal English word, but for somebody from most of the languages of the world, it would sound really exotic and strange, maybe a little bit like the way that clicks sound to English speakers. There, it's just so that's one of those quirks that it's something that sounds normal in English, but actually is quite a rare thing. So that's a look at some of the consonants of the world, the most popular and least popular as well. And next time we'll look at the vowels.